want to say the summer of 1996 because that was the first class we had, and it was three guys. It was Brockus, a.k.a. Akam Albrecht. Mark Henry was just coming off the 96 Olympics, Summer Olympics. Pardon me, and Dwayne Johnson. So I believe at that time, in the probably starting in May, I think. I'm not quite sure when he went to Memphis, but I think he was doing some shows in Memphis. He'd been on the road a little bit and just getting his feet wet. Of course, he had been around the business his whole life. He was a natural performer, obviously. And he came in along with Mark and Occam in August, and we had set up the studio in WWE TV studios at 120 Hamilton Avenue, and we just started training. They had gotten each of us an apartment. We were going to share an apartment like I was supposed to share with Mark, and it was going to be Occam and Dwayne or something. And I just decided, no, I think as the coach, I'm going to go ahead and get my own place in downtown, lovely downtown Stamford, Connecticut. And I did. But that was when I first met him, is the summer of 1996. I didn't really know a whole lot about him except he was Rocky Johnson's son. But he had that Chia Pet haircut, young and energetic, had a lot of, let me see, personality, yes, but he was one of those guys that you knew had the look, he had the size, he had everything, he had the recipe for success. If he would just, some guys come in with the recipe, but they don't know. Instead of putting one egg in, they'll put two, or they'll change up the quantity or leave an ingredient out, and you can do that sometimes, but most of the time you need to follow the recipe and stick to what gets you over, and stick to your strong points, and don't shine your bad ones. And Dwayne was very good at that. Dwayne was good at pretty much everything, though, and he was up for challenging himself, and he was just he was the shining point, obviously, of that camp of Occam and Mark. So that's when I met him, August of '96. Vince had already called me in his office and said, "Hey, we are going to start this program." He didn't say program, but he said, "We're going to start this training," because I think WCW still had their power plant. We weren't building talent from inside. It was kind of getting talent from elsewhere and things like that. So Vince had this idea, and that's how it started.
Where does he come up with, like, all right, Dr. Tom, you're going to be the guy to kind of counteract WCW? They got Paul Orndorff from the power plant, or whoever they have down there. You're going to be the guy for me. You're going to be the head trainer.
Bruce and I were in Houston. Gosh, I don't even know what year it was. It was obviously in the 90s or 80s, I think it was. Yeah, because I was going back and forth, and we were in Houston at the same time, and I hooked up with Tiger Conway Jr. and he said, "Why don't you come on down to this place?" A guy named Tugboat Taylor in Houston had a ring set up in this building, and Tiger was going to go down there and help some of the guys. He says, "Why don't you come along and just see what you can do with these guys too?" And I never taught anybody either. I taught karate for a little bit, but never taught wrestling. So anyway, we went in, and Bruce came with me, and I just got in the ring, and I showed these guys a simple headlock takeover. I showed a way to go in an arm drag, just to go behind. It went over a couple spots, just basic stuff. But I stopped and I explained why I was doing what I was doing. And I really don't think anything of that. Didn't think anything of that, but because I at this stage of my career in the late '80s, I was finally a heel, and that was my job, was to help whoever I was working with tell a story, and the heel was leading the match at that time. And that was a real learning experience. So Bruce knew I taught these guys in Houston. He'd seen me teach, and he just brought it up to Vince. Said, "Hey, Tom's done it before. Tom's taught some guys in Houston, so why not?" And I don't know that Vince even thought anything else past this, or past 3 guys, or if he was going to really actually wanted to do a whole system or program. That's why I don't really believe he said we want to do this program. But later I learned that was what Bruce was under the impression he wanted to do, and so that's how it came about. I think out of a conversation, and we went from there. And from there, it turned into a new position in WWE.